Welcome to the PinkpillRx podcast, hosted by Katie and Jay Fillmore, where we navigate complex and thought-provoking topics surrounding women with a focus on education. For shorter form content, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at Caters88 or PinkpillRx.
That's KATORS88.
If you enjoy this podcast, please give us a follow and maybe a nice review.
There is a disclaimer to this episode. We would like to deeply apologize. If you notice the audio is not the best in this episode, we noticed too. Unfortunately, our audio equipment malfunctioned during the recording and we were unaware. We opted not to re-record the episode because we felt like it would take away some of the authenticity of it, but we do apologize. I also want to remind you guys that moving forward this year, we will not be releasing a new episode every Monday. We're going to be releasing an episode every other Monday. Jay and I have both started school, and we feel like that is the best rhythm that we'll be able to fit into our lives. So we're not going anywhere. We're still here with you guys. It's just going to be a little more spread out. Thank you for your understanding. And without further ado, here's our next episode. Happy 2026.
Happy 26.
Do you get any New Year's resolutions?
I don't do that anymore. I do not do that anymore. But, I have some goals that happen to align with this year.
Oh, like what?
I have a few financial goals I want to hit. And then I want to do more things that are like enjoyable and not phone based. So I got my electric guitar restrung. I got that mini practice amp, reading fiction now, Your Leftovers.
Jay is reading his first contemporary romance. Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood.
I'm about 80% through.
And what do you think so far? Like, it sounds like, I think this has been surprising.
You want to go down this? You want to go down this rabbit hole?
Sure, yeah. I love it.
I identify in part with Elsie, the main character, in that she typically figures out what version of her other people want her to be, and then she does that. And then in the process, she actually kind of forgets how to make decisions based off of what she wants. And then I don't want to spoil this for anybody. So
yeah, spoiler alert.
I like that.
Fast forward if you want to read this book.
Yes.
We'll give you a couple moments.
Okay. Well, it's nice that Jack draws her out of that by emphasizing, what do you want? He sees through her, she calls it APE, assess. I forgot what P stands for, and execute. Where you figure out what other people want you to be, and then you're that. He's like, no, I can tell what you're doing all the time. Don't do that. What do you want? Which is really nice. And you've done that a lot for me. And so, so I identify with that. Great chemistry, great writing. I love the fact that it's in STEM, having a math background, and I love science. So that's cool to have that part of it in there too. I like that she's a woman in STEM, which is great. And yeah, it's a captivating story. I just keep reading because I want to find out what happens next. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, you had said at one point that you felt like it was deeper than what you were expecting for a romance.
Yes. Yeah, because the stuff regarding her, she's got is it diabetes?
Yes.
Yeah, because she has an insulin pump. And then issues regarding her budget and her job as an adjunct and how she had to do this dating thing and get paid for it to make ends meet. And then I love that the stuff regarding her and her family dynamic with her mom and her brothers, and regarding how she, figures out what other people want her to be, and then she becomes that. Very much like therapy type scenarios, which is interesting as a person who's in therapy, So that's that. So that, I think that was deeper than I anticipated. We haven't got too deep into his stuff yet, but he's definitely got some stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if more of that comes out between now and the end of the book. I imagine it will, to fill in plot holes and stuff. But it was deeper because of that part, that things that are deeper emotional, maladaptive behaviors, and finding some healing of those things. I didn't really know what to expect in it. And it was deeper than I thought. And I liked it.
Yeah. No, I'm happy that you've been enjoying it. We've been posting little snippets of it on TikTok and Instagram. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying it.
Yeah. And, I told Kay, I said, you just need to like stick a camera on me and keep it rolling while I'm reading because I will gasp.
This man is so aggressive. Throws the book down, gasping.
What? Like that, those types of reactions and stuff.
The secondhand embarrassment is really strong with you too.
Yeah. I like the chemistry between the characters. And I like, I like a long, slow burn build up of, will they, won't they type.
Yeah. Like get together in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Get together in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. On this side, guys, this is kind of not public knowledge, but I write contemporary romance on the side. And I have since I was 12 years old. Never published anything, never done anything like that. But I did this last year, just complete my first book in its entirety. And I gave it to Jay as a anniversary present because he was like so into the book.
It's so good. Katie would read when she'd have new parts of it. She'd say, hey, I wrote some more scenes. You want to hear them? And I would say, yes, please. And then I would draw or play a game on my phone while she reads it to me aloud.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a big part of 2025.
It was, yeah, because
it
is like a very rough first draft.
But it's complete draft.
It is a complete draft. But it's like 95,000 words. I need to give it some love and edit it down. So it was a big part of 2025.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah. Maybe someday I'll publish something.
Yeah. I hope so.
But that's my secret hobby. That's what I do on the side.
Not a secret now.
Nope, not a secret now.
But only the listeners here know.
Yeah.
This is not on TikTok.
I love our podcast listeners because it is such like just a niche little smaller group of people that listen.
It's more intimate, more of a tribe.
Yes, I feel like I'm talking to my friends.
Yeah.
Versus
versus
like an ocean of masses.
It'd be fun. It'd be kind of fun to say, hey, those who listen to the podcast this Friday at 8:00 East Central Time, we're going to go on TikTok Live. But no one else on TikTok or Instagram knows about it. Only those who listen to the podcast. Ooh. So it's just us together. Just us, little podcast.
Oh, it's pod.
Yeah.
Pod Life.
It's fun because you watch, what is it called? Love at First Sight? No.
I have.
The pods?
That's Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. It's like, meet us in the pods.
Yeah.
Friday. They always say, because when we were talking in the pods, they always reference it after the.
Yeah, and then they'll watch us live and be like, oh, that's not what I pictured.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, circling back to New Year's resolutions, something that I thought was interesting as I was kind of reflecting back and thinking of like possible goals for myself, I started noticing I started wondering about the differences between like men's New Year's resolutions and women's New Year's resolutions.
My gosh.
So as I kind of looked into that, and I did like just a little tiny bit of research. This is not the point of this whole episode, but because it's New Year's, I just thought, because at the beginning of the year, I thought we had to bring it up. So most resolutions are marketed towards women center on body control.
Oh, I freaking knew it. It's like weight loss and stuff.
Yeah, appearance and like being self-resilient. So like lose weight, eat cleaner, be more productive, stay calm, be grateful, right? They're all often a repackaged form of kind of gender conditioning.
Oh.
And it really trains women to shrink or to optimize and smile through exhaustion more so. Meanwhile, men's resolutions tend to emphasize expansion. So like build wealth.
Oh, yeah.
Gain muscle.
Go conquer something.
Learn skills. Take risks. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I find it interesting that women are more or less conditioned to fix themselves as a New Year resolution, and men are more conditioned to like conquer the world for their New Year's resolution.
Gosh, that makes me so sad.
And of course, this is like a very generalized observation. This isn't, I understand that women have financial goals as well. And men, there's men out there that want to lose weight for New Year's. But we're talking about like the messaging, the marketing that is often received by women versus by men.
Right.
women are more of the lose weight, get organized, detox, be more confident, say yes to yourself.
Mm.
While men are told more to be like ambitious and to chase goals aggressively.
You know what? And we're talking about patriarchy in this podcast. Those goals hurt men too.
Oh, for
that
sure.
marketing hurts us because it should be we need to have permission to do some inner work things and encouraged to do so. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily like the detox and the like lose weight and be more confident stuff, but like the saying yes to yourself thing.
Mhm.
Like me, like I want to do more hobbies that are enriching, like reading or music or drawing than, media consumption or being on my phone. And it's not because like, oh, I want to be more productive and I want to make my brain better. It's no, it's going to make me more fulfilled as a person. But those are the type of goals that I necessarily hear encouraged in marketing for men.
Right. Yeah. For men,
it's more go, do, produce.
Yeah, they're like encouraged to own time, set resolutions to like grow business, learn new things, dominate new skills, while women are more like submit to time. They're like set resolutions that balance work and home life, wake up earlier, meal prep, find balance. The underlying message is like manage your chaos better, not question why it's there in the first place.
Yeah. And men, it's like grind,
harder.
That's why I don't one of the reasons why I don't set resolutions anymore, like I said earlier, because it was this grind mindset. Like you remember how I was.
Yeah.
And it's just, for me personally, it's not congruent with like inner harmony. It's just no.
Right, because it's more of like validated through status and external achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Versus a woman's success is validated through appearance and like emotional labor. Like how harmonious she looks while doing it. She's glowing, she's so put together, she's doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what you're saying is true, is that men are like forced to produce externally.
Yeah.
And the way it's marketed to women is like all this like internal work that often results in shrinkage of self.
Yeah.
Whether that's physically or like emotionally.
Yeah. And then for men, it's expansion of self.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great synopsis. Is men's resolutions tend to be more expansive about becoming more, while women's resolutions tend to be more restrictive about becoming less in some way.
And for us, it's how do you squeeze every drop of productivity out of the time you have in your day? It's almost like, hey, let's, for men, make it to where time is not a real constraint. Like, what can you do? Mm-hmm. And for women, it's more like you need to acknowledge your constraints of time.
Yeah.
And find balance in it, right?
Yeah.
And for us, it's like, no, you have no limits, man.
Yeah.
You have 24 hours in a day. How many hours you need to sleep?
Hustle.
You sleep 6 hours, 7 hours? You got a bunch of hours left. Go do something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that could be motivational, but it also can be very unhealthy if you really do that literally.
Yeah. I think that if resolutions were really equal, that women's lists would be like, take up more space, demand better pay, delegate domestic labor, stop apologizing for everything.
Those are good goals.
But culturally, those aren't seen as self-improvement. They're seen as attitude problems. So
I was playing ping pong with one of our kids. Every time the ball went off the table, she'd apologize.
Oh.
And I kept having to tell, like, you don't have to, it's part of the game. You don't have to apologize. And eventually I said, I'm gonna not keep telling you to stop apologizing, but just know you don't have to. But she kept apologizing every time.
What age was that child? You don't have to say her name.
11.
11, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if this is true or not because it was on TikTok, but I mean, it sounds believable. Is this woman was talking about, she was on a podcast and she was talking about how when you ask a girl, like say 8, 9 years old, where do you want to eat? And you ask a boy, where do you want to eat? They'll both tell you where they want to eat. And by the ages of like 11 to 13, the boy will tell you where they want to eat. But the girl will say, I don't know. What do you want to eat? It reminds me of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that shrinkage.
Yeah. Now, I don't have any data to back that up. I'm just saying that was a TikTok I watched. So
yeah, right.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah. It's not in the sources page on the website.
Yes, right. So today I want to unpack some trending things that we see that might be part of your New Year's resolutions, might not. These things that we see that are trending that often don't take women into mind when they're being promoted because they were never researched on women.
Again,
The first trend I want to talk about is cold plunges. You're familiar, right?
I'm familiar. Never have tried. No desire to try.
Yeah, I think you'd for sure.
No sensitivity to cold.
Yes. So they've been around actually for a long time, but they have recently become more popularized. I mean, they've done studies on these, physiological studies on these from like the 50s through the 90s, even back then. But it's interesting because these studies didn't include, you guessed it, women. So cold shock and thermoregulation experiments were primarily conducted on men because women were considered variable due to their menstrual cycles. And that bias actually persisted across exercise physiology, sleep research, and stress studies for the longest time. They still are majority men.
I feel like it's just lazy statistics and lazy mathematics.
Yeah.
Bro, just do it with women in each phase.
Right.
It's not that hard. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, but I'm sure that there's nuances I'm unaware of.
Okay, that's fair. Would you like it if you heard, you know what, cold plunges for women, if you're in your, is there a luteal phase?
Mm-hmm.
If you're in your luteal phase, don't do it. But if you're in your follicular phase, it can be beneficial in these ways. Would you love to get tailor-made research about what phase you're in?
Yes.
I mean, come on.
So the research that measured the cortisol levels, norepinephrine levels, the brown fat activation in response to cold was based almost entirely on young, healthy male subjects because of the...
White?
Most likely.
Probably.
Yes, most likely. I mean, usually when I say young, healthy male, a lot of times it means white.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like ages 20 to 40 is what I see often.
Mm-hmm.
Even popular studies that are cited today by cold plunge advocates, like those that are promoting dopamine surges and saying that it reduces inflammation, it improves recovery, still pull from male cohorts. So there's the Wim Hof method research. Nearly all early participants were men. Studies on exercise recovery and cold water immersion in sports medicine, 80-90% male subjects. Most data on thermogenic fat activation used male or postmenopausal participants to avoid estrogen-related variability.
Mm-hmm.
So there's virtually no controlled studies that examine how cold immersion affects women's cortisol, thyroid function, menstrual regularity, or ovulatory hormones across different cycle phases. So there's little to no data that exists on that, and also on long-term adaptation differences between men and women. So the benefits that are widely promoted online, like those dopamine boosts or faster recovery, etc., rest on male data sets. But what we know is that women, because they have different hormonal systems and different hormones, are more sensitive to cumulative stress and temperature fluctuation. So we do know that about women. So what's beneficial for men could be neutral or even taxing for some women. And the field is now just only beginning to look at this. So what we know about women, as far as temperature exposure goes, is that it isn't like inherently bad for women, but extreme ice baths can be a much stronger stressor due to the biological differences. And it could potentially disrupt hormones, causing more harm than good, especially if done incorrectly. So they actually recommend that women do moderately cold water, like around 55 degrees or 15 degrees Celsius. So 55 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius, is often better for women, and they get those benefits without overstressing the system. We know that men and women differ significantly on their autonomic nervous system and thermoregulatory processes and how they respond to cold. So women's resting metabolic rate and core temperature regulation are influenced by estrogen and progesterone fluctuations across their menstrual cycle. So you are right in saying that during certain times of your menstrual cycle, you might be more sensitive to the stress-inducing effects of a cold plunge.
It would be great to have data to know like when during your cycle these would be beneficial and when maybe to up the temperature or not do it.
Yeah. Research also shows that women generally vasoconstrict faster, meaning reducing blood flow to the skin and other areas. And they experience greater drops in core temperature during immersion. especially in the luteal phase when progesterone is high. And this makes us more sensitive to the cold stress. So when women plunge into those near ice temperatures, the neuroendocrine system responds with sharp spike in the sympathetic activity and cortisol. And over time, that can actually disrupt menstrual regularity, blunt thyroid function, and impair recovery. There was some research that was done that showed that short immersion times for women at that 15 degrees Celsius for just 2 to 5 minutes was able to activate cold-induced thermogenesis in brown fat tissue, adipose tissue, while maintaining the parasympathetic balance, which is important for women. So that they saw that there was like positive effects on those areas, like that the brown fat basically burning while not stressing out your nervous system too much.
Yeah.
There was an NIH study that found that cold exposure has been found to increase serum progesterone levels while upregulating progesterone receptor expression and downregulating estrogen receptor expression in the uterus. So these hormone changes result in uterine structural damage, including a reduction in the uterine index, glandular expansion, whatever that is, and significant thinning of the endometrial layer, ultimately impairing normal uterine function. It goes on to say, moreover, environmental temperature is closely associated with systemic inflammation, and studies on the digestive, respiratory, and cardiovascular systems have consistently demonstrated that cold exposure elevates inflammatory levels. However, research on the impact of cold exposure on reproductive inflammation remains limited. In this study, transcriptomic sequencing of the ovarian and uterine tissues following cold exposure was performed to investigate the effects of cold exposure on uterine and ovarian inflammation. By exploring the potential mechanisms underlying cold-induced reproductive dysfunction, we propose that cold exposure alters the inflammatory microenvironment of the reproductive system, leading to female reproductive disorders.
Wow.
All that to say, I'm not saying this is like cold plunges are a terrible thing for women. But I do think that when things are trending, we have to ask ourselves, was this thing actually tested on women?
Right.
Do we actually know the effects on women's bodies?
Right. Or do you need to find whatever adaptations need to be made on your own?
Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is diets.
Oh. Okay. But aren't most diets marketed for women?
I don't have the data on that, but I would venture
Subjective
to say that diet culture is very aimed at women.
Mm-hmm. And I bet you're going to tell me a bunch of ways that these things were not researched on women.
Like nearly every standard diet framework used in research and clinical nutrition has been studied primarily on male subjects or mixed groups, but those mixed groups didn't analyze for sex-specific outcomes.
Oh, then it's kind of useless.
Yeah. The gender data gap in nutrition science is massive. So early nutrition science just excluded women, period. Because again, the menstrual cycles, they just were considered confounding variables. Can't do that. So women of reproductive age were often excluded to make the data cleaner. So the foundational data for the human metabolism, like basal metabolic rate or fasting glucose response or thermogenesis, was built around the male body. And that still shapes dietary guidelines, calorie equations, and fasting models today. The classic studies that set that 2,000 calorie reference diet were largely based on male soldiers and factory workers.
It's not a date even for like male office workers then.
Yeah, right. More stagnant lifestyles.
Yeah.
The fasting and keto studies are heavily male skewed. So the intermittent fasting research mostly involves men or postmenopausal women. So basically, if you're a menstruating woman, you don't have much data out there on you, period. No pun intended. Estrogen and progesterone affect how the body responds to fasting. It alters your cortisol, your glucose, your thyroid hormones, yet these variables are rarely controlled for. And in women, prolonged fasting can actually spike cortisol, suppress ovulation, and dysregulate that thyroid function. While in men, it often improves insulin sensitivity and growth hormone output. So when you hear things like fasting improves longevity, that is more of a male conclusion applied to a mixed population. So again, I'm not saying that like some of these studies were exclusively only done by men, period. They were male skewed, meaning they were more heavily male. But even in the groups that included females, they weren't looking for sex-specific data.
Mm-hmm. They just kind of took averages from the whole group and that was it.
Right. Protein and muscle studies ignore female differences. So most data on protein needs, anabolic resistance, and post-exercise nutrition come from young trained men. In women's muscle, protein synthesis varies by menstrual phase and estrogen levels, meaning the timing and amount of protein that optimizes recovery could differ. But this isn't studied in the standard diet design.
I'd love to get a personal trainer on here who's very knowledgeable.
Oh, that would be really good.
To see what they would say when they are training a man versus a woman in fitness or nutrition or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So what's missing mostly is that menstrual cycle phase and how that alters the macronutrient needs or the hormones and things like that, and protein intake, and how that just like all influences all of that. Or how perimenopause changes dietary response, like insulin, cortisol, thyroid. This is what we know about women in diet, though. So this is what we do know. The Mediterranean diet has been studied the most extensively in women, showing significant benefits for longevity, heart health, and lowers risk of certain cancers, like breast cancer and type 2 diabetes as well, it lowers. With large studies finding reduced all-cause mortality by up to 23% in women adhering to this diet. It focuses on plants like olive oil, fish, whole grains, things like that. And it did show sustained health advantages across a woman's lifespan, from reproductive health to aging. So they did actually do some studies on women that were in these stages. A major study found women following it had that 23% lower risk of dying from any causes over a 25-year period of time. Heart health is significantly lowers the risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke, which is a leading cause of death in women. Cancer prevention links to reduced risks for several cancers, particularly breast cancer. Reproductive and overall health, it showed benefits extended to potentially reducing risks for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and type 2 diabetes, with evidence even covering reproductive health too, that it was like healthy for reproductive health. Mm-hmm. While other diets like low fat or low carb have also been studied, the Mediterranean diet stands out for its depth of research and widespread positive outcomes specifically noted in women's health.
So it's a safer bet for overall health. Maybe not weight loss, but overall health.
I mean, you're going to lose weight if you go from eating the standard American diet onto a whole foods diet.
That's a good point.
Most likely, assuming you're not like in too much of a calorie overload.
Yeah. Or you're eating jars and jars of peanuts every day on the Mediterranean.
Do have a peanut butter problem, Jay. Okay.
But it's
back off.
You can find better. Not all peanut butters are created equal. Yeah. Right?
No, they are not.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and I'm not going to probably get through it all today. Like creatine consumption based on men, gut microbiome. So what we know about like what the healthy gut is. A lot of it is based on men.
And that's important for serotonin production.
Yeah. Most commercial probiotics were historically developed and tested on male-centric data. So the formulations may not account for female-specific physiology. But there are some out there that are specifically for women that are slightly different.
Interesting. That's very fascinating.
Luckily, more research is including women in this area.
Good, thank God.
And there is that development of, like I said, the female-targeted probiotics, especially for vaginal, urinary, and metabolic health. Another thing that was tested on men as the majority that has to do with weight loss is GLP-1s.
What's that?
Like Ozempic.
Oh, the drugs?
Yes. Primarily tested on men or mixed populations that were not balanced for sex.
Yeah. That's frightening. That's really, okay, that's frightening because that's a medication. Like you're putting a drug in your system that wasn't necessarily researched heavily on your sex.
So in the studies, men made up 60 to 70% of the participants. There were later obesity-focused trials because the first trials were focused on type 2 diabetes. That's like what originally the medication was for.
Okay.
And then they started focusing on like obesity control.
Okay.
And it did improve slightly, meaning that some more women were included, but it still was the majority men.
Mm-hmm. And the results weren't analyzed, sex by sex. It was just overall.
Right, on a lot of these. Now, there was one that had 60% women.
Oh.
I'm going to really mess up this name. The smeglutide? Smeglutide? Smeglutide.
You want to spell it? So our listeners...
SMEGLUTIDE included 60% women. But the analysis was not stratified by sex in most cases. Such an opportunity to do that when you had that much women.
Well, hopefully they still have the raw data. I mean, I would hope that they can go back and look at that.
We lack how GLP-1s affect menstrual cycles, ovulation, estrogen metabolism, and fertility. There are reports of women regaining ovulation after weight loss because the fat loss changes insulin resistance and leptin signaling. But controlled research is still limited. So it could be good things. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, if you were to study women, it would be bad.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
But the majority of severe side effects from this medication happens to women. And I wonder why. Well, probably because it wasn't, like, studied specifically for women.
It could even be the dosing.
Yeah. So the bottom line is they're not, like, inherently worse for women. They're just being used as if male physiology were the baseline.
Yeah.
Which is the same for a lot of things out there, is it doesn't necessarily mean it's inherently worse for women. We just don't know as much.
Yeah. It could be better. It could be worse. Could you need a different dosage? Could be, depending on your phase, what's going to be going on in your body as a result.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the end, all these things, including things we've already talked about in previous episodes, like drugs and labs and stuff like that. Basically, anything you consume or practice that you do has most likely been studied on a majority of men. So it's important to look into that and ask yourself, was this tested on my demographic? Was sex-specific data extrapolated from these studies? Am I being treated as a woman or as a male?
Yeah, you'd be treated as a male.
Especially if you're premenopausal.
I wonder what... I don't know if there's much research in this field, but we're talking about exercise or just physiological practices like cold plunges. We're talking about food consumption. We've already talked about labs. We've talked about drugs. I'm thinking, what else is there? What about sleep?
Oh, no.
Interesting to do an episode on sleep.
Women need more sleep than men.
Not even just need, but like, are the sleep cycles different at all? Are there different conditions that are more, that are better for your circadian rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
Or for melatonin production and stuff like that? I just wonder if there's differences there.
You should look into that. You should do an episode on that. You should do an episode on that.
Yeah, I'll leave an episode on sleep.
Well, thanks for listening. That's all I have for us today.
This is great. This was a fascinating episode.
Yeah, and good luck if you have any New Year's resolutions. I'm not like a big proponent of New Year's resolutions. I don't think that I think they're more depressing than helpful.
Especially when you don't meet them.
But I am a big proponent of having goals and wanting to progress in areas of your life.
Yeah.
So if having that psychological hard start of January 1st is helpful to you, then I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Good luck with that. I mean, it's so good to try and be intentional about a direction you want to move towards.
Right.
Any way that you fashion.
Don't feel like you need to shrink yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Expand, conquer.
Expand, conquer, get shredded.
Grind, get shredded. But don't necessarily do cold plunges the same way.
Yeah, be careful. Cold plunges. Also, protein intake and creatine. Might want to look into that for what's recommended for women versus men.
Yeah. Amen.
If you're planning on getting shredded.
I hope for those of you listening, something was intriguing or sparked a curiosity, or you felt affirmed or challenged. Stay educated. Take the pink pill. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a follow and maybe a nice review.